Welcome to Kanishka IAS. Today's daily current affairs. We'll also discuss about yesterday's current affairs. First topic is on Jim Corbett Tiger Reserve. Jim Corbett Tiger Reserve is located in Uttarakhand. Recently, it was in news because National Tiger Conservation Authority has formed a committee to investigate into matters of illegal construction in the Tiger Reserve, and this committee has found that Forest Department has forged government records and they violated laws and they permitted illegal construction in the protected sanctuary. It is one of the highest tiger density habitat of the world. Tiger is an endangered as per International Union for Conservation of Nature, and tiger is also a Schedule 1 animal as per Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Tiger is considered as a keystone species because if tiger is protected, then its prey is also gets protected in the region. India is home to 80% of tiger population in the world, and in 2018 census, the population of tiger in India is 2,970. NTCA is a statutory body, means it is established by the Act of Parliament. It was under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. It was established due to recommendations of Tiger Task Force in the year 2005, and it was constituted under Wildlife Protection Act 1972. It was chaired by Ministry of Environment. And there is also a body called National Board for Wildlife. This is chaired by Prime Minister of India. Corbett Tiger Reserve is one of the oldest national park in India, and it was created in 1936, that is before independence. Earlier it is called as Haley National Park, and it is located in Nainital and Pauli Garhwal district. Ramganga River flows through the Corbett Tiger Reserve, and it is known as Lifeline of Corbett Tiger Reserve. It is also first national park of Asia. Spotted deer, sambar deer, elephant, tawny fish owl, golden jackal were present in this tiger reserve. These were important animals. One should remember. This is a map of tiger reserves in India. There were 53 tiger reserves in India presently. In the state of Uttarakhand, including Corbett, Rajaji Tiger Reserve is also present. Nagarjun Sagar Srisailam Tiger Reserve is one of the largest tiger reserve in India. It is present in Andhra Pradesh, adjoining the borders of Telangana. Bor Tiger Reserve is the smallest one, and it is located in Maharashtra. Corbett and Rajaji Tiger Reserve borders Uttar Pradesh state. Next topic is on compressed biogas plant. This was recently established at Jawaharnagar Dumping Yard. It is located in Hyderabad. It is one of the largest dumping sites, and it is the first such project in a country where landfill gas is being purified. Landfills are the sites where ground is dug deep up to a certain feet, and in all this wastes were added, and it is closed for certain months. Then biogas is produced from this waste. Biogas is produced due to presence of anaerobic bacteria. Anaerobic bacteria means this kind of bacteria can grow without the presence of oxygen. Means they can grow even if oxygen is absent. Then biogas consisted of methane and carbon dioxide and other gases in small amounts. As recently there is a shortage of coal which India is facing, and there is also a power crisis. So planting or developing more this compressed biogas plants can be a potential alternative in order to overcome any crisis. This can be used within the communities also. This can be developed within a community wise. Now landfill gas which is generated within this is extracted through strategically placed gas well. See, many gas wells can be connected through pipe, and these pipes can be again connected to domestic usage, industries, and also to many other places wherever it is necessary. Even due to usage of municipal wastes, solid waste management can also be achieved with this biogas plant. Solid waste management is one of the component of Swachh Bharat Mission Open Defecation Free Plus. It is nothing but SBM ODF Plus, and waste can be reduced. This is the anaerobic digestion. See, this is how landfill is dug. Through one side inlet is there, through which all substrates, that is waves are added, and through another side there is a outlet, and through there gases are left out. Next topic is on Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission. As COVID pandemic has shown weaknesses of our healthcare systems, it was found necessary to prepare for future pandemics and to avoid havoc in the country. So this Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission is launched to prevent such future pandemics. It was launched with an outlay of 64,180 crore rupees over a period of 5 years, and it will strengthen public health institutions, governance capacities for wide-ranging diagnostics and treatment. Recently, if you see, center has approved for 9 medical colleges in the Uttar Pradesh, and importance of labs and lack of their readiness during outbreak is also seen. Labs are important because they are used for diagnose any disease. Government will be establishing integrated public health lab in 730 districts to provide comprehensive laboratory services. There were total 742 districts in India. So integrated public health labs will be provided in 730 districts. Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission will focus more on supporting research on COVID-19 and other infectious diseases also. And importance to biomedical research should also be given. Universities, institutions that are funded by union government, all these things need an area of development. With the help of Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission, a network of surveillance lab will be developed. Surveillance labs are necessary because one should contact trace a person if he is infected with any disease. So it is necessary. So these things will be developed at a block, district and regional and national level. So if contact tracing is done properly, then infection can be prevented. Because of low infection levels, then outbreaks can be reduced in the upcoming future. Urban primary health centers will be established closer to community. See, if any program should be successful, then community participation should be necessary. Without proper community participation, then their views will not be seen. Urban population and polyclinics will guarantee care through improved access to expand high quality services. Recently, we have seen that COVID pandemic was managed well in rural areas when compared to urban areas. Dharavi is a slum which is the largest one in Asia. It is located near Mumbai. It also managed pandemic very well. Over the cases were very few. Now few facts were, according to Human Development Report 2020, only 8 hospital beds were available for 10,000 people. Primary healthcare center is for 25 villages. Even 15th Finance Commission has recommended to strengthen urban and rural primary healthcare, stronger surveillance system and laboratory capacity. As this can be fulfilled through Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission. Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission will support 17,788 rural health and wellness centers, mainly in 7 high focus states and 3 northeastern states. Even hypertension, diabetes and mental health care will also be covered. Mental health care was given least importance because of many taboos, and because of mental health issues only many people are committing suicide. So in order to avoid all these things, there is a need to train and deploy larger and better skilled health workforce in the country. Public health expertise should also be used to design, delivery and implementation of policies. Private sector participation is also invited. If good health is achieved at national level, then it certainly leads to universal health care. At district, block and community levels, these can be used, that is sub-health centers, primary healthcare centers and community healthcare centers. Next topic is on pedestrian safety. There were many accidents on road and also there is increase in traffic. According to Accidental Deaths and Suicides in India report of 2019, 7.7% of deaths in road accidents were of pedestrians. Pedestrians were the people who walk on road. So one should, in these circumstances, instead of focusing on short-term goals like construction of flyovers and metro rail projects, all these were cost effective. These have only short-term implications. So instead of this, one should focus on long-term solutions like public transport should be encouraged, and it should also be quality-wise good and also affordable so that common man can go. And local people should be contacted in the region, and they should be told that they should encourage cycling in the region to commute short distance travels, and footpaths should also be used for walking purposes. Footpaths were constructed on roads, but they were used by vegetable sellers and many others. Encroachments were done on footpaths also. So it is not used for walking. Instead, for some other purposes it is used. Only a long-term bottom-up approach will ensure livable and smart cities. Bottom-up approach means people at bottom has decision making ability, and these reports were given to people who were at top. Now next topic is about birth and death database. Union government said that amendments to Registration of Births and Deaths Act 1969 to maintain database of registered births and deaths at national level. Now this registration is done by local registrar who is appointed by states. Now central government said that this chief registrar will maintain unified database at state level, and he will integrate it with the data on national level, which is maintained by Registrar General of India. Under which ministry this Registrar General of India is present? It is present under Home Ministry. Implemented, then data is used to update National Population Register. National Population Register maintains data on population. It is necessary for a country to know who were its population. Thus it is necessary. Now this National Population Registry has a database of 119 crore residents. India has crossed a milestone of 1 billion in administering vaccinations to its people. Still, vaccine drive is incomplete. So India seeks vaccine loan from Asian Development Bank and Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Now coming to Asian Development Bank. It is headquartered in Manila, that is in Philippines. In this Asian Development Bank, USA and Japan are the biggest shareholders, and they are going to lend $1.5 billion to India. Asian Development Bank is mainly a regional development bank. It is suggested by its name itself, that is Asian. Asian is a particular region, and it was established on 19th December 1966. It currently has 68 members. Among them, 49 were from Asia, that is remaining were from other regions of the world. It aims to promote social and economic development in the region. Now Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. It is located in Beijing in China. In this, China and India are the largest shareholders, and it is going to lend $500 million to India. Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank is a multilateral development bank. Multilateral means in this many countries were involved, and its mission is also to improve social and economic outcomes in Asia and beyond. There were 57 founding members, and it commenced its operations in 2016. Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank is considering loan for Chennai Metro Railway Systems. For the vaccine Covishield, World Health Organization has given approval, but for Covaxin, which was developed by Bharat Biotech, approval was not given yet. Agni-5 missile is in Odisha. Agni-5 missile is a long-range surface-to-surface ballistic missile. Surface to surface missile means missile is launched from a ground or a sea, and target is also located on ground or a sea. This is called surface to surface missile. Now ballistic missile means when this is launched, the missile goes in the trajectory path and hits its target. It is a 3-stage solid fuel indigenous and intercontinental ballistic missile. It is called intercontinental ballistic missile because it covers almost all the area of Asia, and it also covers some parts of Europe. Its range is more than 5,000 kilometers, and it has a capable of carrying 1.5 tons of nuclear warheads, and is the latest version and most advanced variant in terms of navigation, guidance, warhead and engine. When this Agni-5 missile is inducted in military, India will join an exclusive club of countries like the US, Russia, China, France and Britain, which also have intercontinental ballistic missile capability. Agni-5 missile comes under Interguided Missile Program, which was the idea of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. These were the Agni missiles. 6 missiles were present total. Now Agni-5 missile is a intercontinental ballistic missile, and its range is up from 5,000 to 8,000 km. It is still in testing stage only. It is not inducted in military. And Agni-6 is still in under development. whereas its range is 8,000 to 10,000 kilometers. This is how ballistic missile moves from launch site to its target. Both are located on a ground. It stays most of its time in air and then hits the target. TDS shops were in news because it was announced that these shops may sell LPG cylinders soon. That is up to 5 kg. Again, prices of oil is increasing rapidly. So this cylinder should be available to all. So this initiative will be taken, and it is also taken from the viewpoint that these ration shops will also have some financial viability. Ration shops were also called as fair price shops, and there were over 5.32 lakh fair price shops across the country, and these shops generally distribute food grains to 80 crore beneficiaries of National Food Security Act were available to beneficiaries. Beneficiaries include people those who were below poverty line and those who can't afford to meet their daily basic needs, and those people get these rice and other things at subsidized food prices, means at lower rate. Center procures food grains from farmers, so center will only buy these food grains at a minimum support price. Minimum support price is announced by center only, and it sells it to states at central issue prices, and these were fixed by government only. These were some of the provisions of National Food Security Act 2013. According to this act, 5 kgs of food grains per person per month at 5 rupees. 5 rupees is for rice, 2 rupees for wheat and 1 rupee for coarse grains. Now meal and maternity benefit is also provided of rupees 6,000 to pregnant women and lactating mothers during pregnancy and 6 months after childbirth. These numbers were important. Rupees 6,000 is provided, and for 6 months after childbirth. And meals were also provided under this Food Security Act for children up to 14 years of age. If a person doesn't get food grains or meals, then this food security allowance is given to that person. And this act also provides for setting up a grievance redressal mechanism, that means to receive complaints at district and state level. At both these levels, these mechanisms were present. Thank you.